Huge shout out to my supporting patrons and Fine Tool partners. I couldn't do it without you. Thanks a lot.
So you want to make cabinet doors? Well, I'm going to show you how to use these two bits right now. So rail and stile or cope and stick bits come in a variety of different profiles, whether it be from roundover, Roman Ogee, or even shaker panel, which is just a slight 10-degree chamfer. I'm going to focus on the Roman Ogee bits, and we're going to work on the rails and stile setups of the cabinet doors, which is the inner perimeter profile as well as the cope profile that goes on either end of the rails that matches up with the profile you just made for the inner perimeter. So if this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. Don't forget to click that subscribe button right up there, click that notification bell, and it'll notify you anytime I upload new content. Don't forget, comment down below, give me a like or dislike, and tell me how you are enjoying the channel. If you want to become a supporter of the show, you can head over to Patreon right over there. Check out my benefits and free stuff that you can have for being a loyal supporter. If you see any tools that I use in the shop and you want to get your hands on some, you can check out my Amazon store. Just about everything I use is there. And don't forget that I upload videos every single Saturday. I intermingle SketchUp tutorials and build videos, so you have something to watch each and every week. So the way that you are going to have to set up your pieces in order to lay them out properly to ensure your door is the correct size, the router bit that I have actually makes a 3/8 inch tongue. So you're going to have to accommodate 3/8 on one end and 3/8 on another end, which is 3/4 overall. So whatever your interior dimension is of your door, increase your rail by 3/4 of an inch. Your stiles are just going to be cut a little oversized, so whenever you go to put the door together, you can actually trim off the tips and make it all nice and flush. So let's go ahead and set up the profile for the cope, which will be on the end grain. All right, now the setup of this first bit is crucial. This will determine the overall look of your profile. So you need to kind of figure out in your head what you want the reveal to look like, and then the bit will take care of everything else. Now the reveal is that tiny little step down that occurs right before the Ogee occurs, or the roundover, or whatever type of bit you're using. It's just that straight 90-degree step down. And I have found that using these mag shims are super handy. They're maybe not essential, but they are super handy, mainly because the brass setup gauges that I have for the router and table saw don't come equipped with a 16-inch thick gauge, and these mag shims do. The red pieces are an 8, but the outer coverings, which are metal, are a 16. So they are magnetized to the whole setup. And if you want to get some of these, I have them in my Amazon store. You can buy some for yourself. But setting this right on the tabletop and then lowering the bit down to where the curvature of the Ogee just touches this piece will set it up for a 16. Now I don't quite want a 16th because that's a little too thick for my taste, so I'll just lower it down maybe about a half turn on my router table, and that will kind of give me the overall look that I'm wanting. So if you look at the bit itself, the top cutter, which is going to be the back side of my rail, is protruding up past the block of wood about half the thickness of the cutter, and that's about where I want it. So you want to set your fence up with the bit buried up inside and the ball bearing that's in between both cutters to be exactly flush with the fence surface. So I've taken a square that I can set right up against the ball bearing, and then I'm going to bring the fence in until it touches and doesn't knock around like this. Then I want to double check and make sure that if I'm pushing my square through, if it's actually turning the ball bearing. I do see the ball bearing moving, and I don't feel any rocking of the square, so that's good. I am exactly flush, so I'm ready to make my cut. Now, the most important thing to consider whenever you are pushing this through the bit is to keep adequate downward pressure always on your stock, because if you have any variation in how it goes through that bit from one piece to the next, it won't sit flush whenever you go to put them together, and it just won't look good no matter how much sanding you do. Okay, with a first successful pass in the books, it looks like the profile is exactly where I want it. I have the step down to the look that I like. Now I'm gonna flip this over. Now you'll notice a little bit of tear out occurred right here on the back side. But this is a test piece, so I'm actually going to use this as my backer or sacrificial fence for the rest of my pieces, so no tear out will occur on those, or as little as possible. Alright, now with all the profiles cut on the ends of the rails, it's time to take this bit out and replace it with the positive or its mate. Now I find the setup of the positive profile or the stick bit is actually a lot easier than the setup of the cope bit. So we're actually going to use the profile that we just cut on our actual pieces as a guide block to know where to set the height for this one. So by looking at the bit and the piece that we just cut, which is right there, it corresponds to that blade or that cutter that you see on the bit. So by just leaving the board in place right beside the bit, we can actually lower the bit to the height of that tongue. And once it's flush to the top of the cutter to the top of the tongue, we're set. One thing to keep in mind is that the new bit that we just put in is going to route out all 4 pieces of your door. This actually creates that inner perimeter profile that you see, and it's going to require all 4 pieces of the door to be routed. Now the same thing applies to this bit when you set it up to the table, or excuse me, to your fence. You have to make sure that that ball bearing is flush with the fence, and then once you tighten it down, if you don't see the bearing move when you move the gauge back and forth, then readjust, and then make sure that it doesn't rock. So once you do a little bit of sanding of the fibrous areas that the router bit left in its wake, you can do a test fit and see that you have a nice fitting door. Now once you have these glued up, make sure that you check for square each and every time as you clamp these, because as you apply pressure, shifting may occur. Now if you cut all of your pieces nice and square, they should line up nicely, but you always double check. So I take a square block and I just put it inside the door, and I check one corner to see if it wobbles, and then I check the opposite corner to see if it wobbles. Everything on that door checks out. Now with a few passes of my 3/8 inch rabbeting bit, I'm removing the back side of the door since this is going to have glass inside. Then I take it to the outer perimeter of the door with a 1/4 inch round over bit and take multiple passes little by little until I achieve the profile I'm looking for. With just a little bit of stain and some lacquer, you'll have a beautiful door ready for install. So if you guys enjoyed that video, I want to take a moment to say thank you. I had a great time showing you how those bits work, and I want to thank my patrons right up here. Could not do it without your support, as well as the support from my fine tool partners down below. If you guys want to check out some other build videos and SketchUp tutorials, you can find them right over there. Don't forget to click that subscribe circle that you see in the middle of the screen, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Boom!